Hey, Shalom Akim. First and foremost, give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahshai, Shemachah Kodash, double honors under the Elders, Apostle Green Millstone, the Elders Green Millstone, and of course, peace and blessings under the hopeful elect. The sincere servants of Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahshai, serving with truth and sincerity. You asked one of the Chayaba from his immense Plaintiff's camp, coming back with another lesson to his spirit. Yeah, so this lesson will be based on how Jacob's world is next. Of course, Jacob being the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, the descendants. Of course, what Jacob's name was changed onto Israel. Jacob/Israel had 12 sons. Each of those sons represented 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. So, Esau. So let's read this real quick. It says 2 Ezra chapter 6 and 9. It says, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." Yeah, Esau, of course, being our enemy. Since birth, Esau and Jacob were at war with each other. As you know, you can read how, pretty much in the womb they were fighting. Since the womb, Jacob and Esau were fighting. So, showing you that again, we will constantly be at war with each other. The Lord said that He will forever be at war with Amalek. Amalek being the chief tribe of the nation Edom. Of course, when you go into the scriptures, you go into the blessings of Esau. You go into the sons of the wicked. You go into who's running the world currently. Obviously, it's Esau. And links up to the so-called white man. And of course, Jacob, when you look at the curses, the blessings, the curses, the blessings, pretty much going into who Jacob is and what they'll go through and who they are. It links up to our people, so-called blacks, Native Americans, Latinos. But of course, there has been a scattering. So not all Edomites, not all descendants of the nation of Edom will look like so-called white people. Yeah, the majority of them will, but again, not all of them will, because again, there's been a scattering, there's been a mixing of the people, of course, and we are what our fathers are. Our mother has no influence on our lineage, our bloodline. She don't, only our appearance, but not our bloodline. So when you look at your paternal lineage, if you go back into Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, then you are an Israelite. But of course, we don't have the documents, so we go through the spirit. But the point is that predominantly we know that those are the people, and our people are again the people on the 12 tribes chart. And of course, anybody who scattered amongst these other nations, and ultimately they're, again, if they are Israelite, then they will take part of Jacob's blessing, what the Lord promised unto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So it says, read again, 2 Ezra chapter 6 and 9. "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." Yeah. So we're at the end of Esau's world. Of course, with all these prophecies coming to pass, Esau about to come down he's already coming down with great wrath. We already know Trump is in office, which is we believe to be narrow and reincarnation. He's in office, and he's making a lot of things come to pass. Ultimately, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahshai put him in office so that these prophecies can speed up. And what the final prophecy we're waiting for before the coming of Yahweh Shai is the implementation of the mark of the beast as spoken about in Revelation chapter 13 and 16. So that's all we're waiting for. Once that happens, World War III can kick off at any moment. And Yahweh Shai will have to make his return, because during World War III, the scriptures prophesy that Babylon and Great, which is America, would be destroyed by nuclear fire. With these other nations will make an alliance against Babylon and Great, which is America, to destroy it. Of course, right then and there, the Israelites within Babylon and Great, within America, will have to be saved from that destruction. So that's exactly when Yahweh Shai will come back to deliver his elect. So yeah, that's what we're ultimately waiting for. It says, to read it again, 2 Ezra chapter 6 and 9. "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." Yeah. So Jacob's world is next after the end of Esau's world. Which, well, once Yahushua comes back, he's not coming back to unite all nations. He's coming back, what, to conquer all these other nations. Let's get real quick. BLB. We're going real quick on to Revelation chapter 2, 26. It says, and he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, yeah. Only referring unto Israelites. More specifically, only the elect will overcome. The elect Israelites. It says, he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the, because not all Israelites will be saved, only the elect. It says, and he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. See? Over the nations. And what, you know how the Lord's only dealing with his people. And as it has been promised all throughout the Old Testament, the promises follow through the New Testament as well. What the Lord has promised unto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, well, we're going to have rule over all the nations. Well, when we read Isaiah chapter 14, it goes into how the Lord will yet choose Israel. He's going to have mercy on Jacob and yet choose Israel. And how we're going to rule over, for those who had us as captives, we're going to be, they're going to be our captives. Those who had us oppressed, we're going to be their oppressors. So it says, to him will I give power over the nations. Power, when you get that, when you go into the Hebrew version of the New Testament and you see the word for power, it's the Hebrew word mashal, which means to have rule or dominion over. So that's exactly what's going to happen. So verse 27, it says, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers. Yeah, read again. It says, Revelation chapter 2 and 27. And he shall have, it says, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. It says, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my father. So guess what? This is Jacob's world. Us ruling over these other nations. Yeah, exactly. He says, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. Yeah, and a rod of iron isn't something light. You get that word for rod within the Greek word is rhabdos, which means, it says, when applied to kings, it's a with a rod of iron indicates the severest, most rigorous rule. See? So it's just the severest, most rigorous rule. That's exactly what's going to happen, man. Whatever these nations did unto us, we're going to do unto them, but even greater. We're going to have spiritual power. Every one of these different comic books you see, these superheroes, and but ultimately, like, these ideas they get from the scriptures: flight, super speed, super strength. Of course, being invincible. The scriptures go into all of that, and that's exactly where they get it from. Guess what? All that's we're gonna be granted that power, starting of course with the elect. That's what his brothers are hoping to be a part of. We're part of the hopeful elect, meaning that this is our expectation to receive salvation. We have to endure until the end. When we pray unto Yahweh Shem Yeshai that we do so. Because just because you hear this word doesn't mean that you're already saved. No, as the scriptures say, the same who endure until the end shall be saved. So that's the point. Jacob's kingdom is next. It says, read again, 2 Ezra chapter 6 and 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Yeah, so we have a lot of things to wait for, man. Well, ultimately, when Jacob's war begins, which is going to be when Yahushua comes back to establish his kingdom, his rulership, to deliver the Israelites out of their captivity, starting with the elect, and this completely put in subject these other nations. Then of course, we're going to receive the new perfect bodies, the incorruptible bodies, meaning that we're never going to sin again. And we're going to be perfect. And the laws, statutes, commandments, and righteousness will go throughout the whole earth. And all these other nations will be subject into keeping it. And they're going to be under us, our slaves and our captives. So they will have to follow the laws, statutes, commandments. They won't be perfect. So they're going to have to face whatever judgment, that applies to whatever they don't keep is going to apply to them. But what the Israelites will be perfect. We're never going to go off again. But yeah, I believe that's a point. Lord Zero, you brothers are the edified. Yahweh Bashim Yoshai, Bashim Kakodash Brakathum. Shalom.